Welcome everyone to the Guild Wars 2 World Championship Qualifier review. And this is going to be one of the final videos I do for this, as I am going to America myself very shortly. So we're going to have a look at Never Lucky versus Astral Authority. Now, whether or not these builds and whatnot are going to be used in the World Championship finals, we'll have to wait and see. There's word on the street about different things going on, people changing things up, but I'm not going to mention that. I'll talk about that here. Because secrets, I suppose. And I'm not just talking about one team, I'm talking about quite a few. So, here we go. You can see significant changes on both teams. Wakey is not playing Elementalist, he's gone on to Guardian, and we've got a Guardian of Moobs on the other team. He normally isn't playing anything else, apparently. I talked to him a little bit, and Guardian is the main thing he plays. According to his teammates, he's actually quite angry sometimes, but I haven't witnessed that yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Magic Toker's going to be picking up Revenant here with Nos, who's going to be playing. You can see the Poison Cloud as well as Spectral Wall there, and the armor as well. So, you know, interesting mix-up build he's gone for. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what's going to come out from this team so far. Fanta obviously going for Druid there, then Wakey, Guardian, and 5Gauge going to be playing on that Engineer. So you can assume and guess what is going to be coming out from him. Sword Focus, of course, over onto Wakey there. A lot of damage comes out from this build, going for the knockback with the longbow there. To grab himself that stability, and then 5Gauge, Chafe is going to be going for that typical kind of engineer build as well. We'll nip back in a bit, and we'll obviously see the elite as well. I was going to say ultimate then. The elite going for Elixir X there as well. You can see with the Moa throw is going to be Jeff's. And we're going to go up for the Druid over on the other team. Pretty much the same specific build that we're seeing all the time. And then Oron, we saw before, playing that Thief build with the Staff and the Short Bow. Obviously gives him a lot of mobility, can avoid a lot of damage, remove conditions as well. Hasn't got the swiftness, which is, you know, obviously very, very useful. And we don't need the stability coming out from Hypno because there is no, although it'd probably be useful, there is no thief on the opposite team. So let's have a look at the actual game itself. And again, it's worth noting about the Revenant here as well. He's obviously going for Invocation there. As far as we just had a look through the traits, things can change, of course, as we start the game. But, you know, looking at the various builds as well, similar utilities on both Guardians as well. And just waiting for the game to start. Again, you know, guys, this wasn't laggy because obviously it was on NA side. So the stream isn't laggy at all at the moment. And if it is, it's not my fault because I'm just recording the stream. I haven't got camera views. I haven't got anything, so I can't control what I'm looking at, unfortunately. But I think he picks up quite a lot of the important stuff that goes on. Also, we're going to be looking at the mini-map in the bottom right-hand corner quite a lot because you can see these crosses already occurring as we go to the flashy kind of intro here, and even a little fight going on in the crossroads there as well, and both teams are crossing all the way onto the far points, and they've actually put Guardians on the side nodes, and now we're going to see Guardian versus Druid on the left hand side, as Fanto is obviously pushing far, and no matter what build or class he's playing, and obviously blue team are just going to rinse out Wakey over here. I should be able to dispense him quite quickly. Wakey's only got so many cooldowns, but he actually does quite a good job of getting away with his second virtue. So if we have a look at midpoint, it means that Astral Authority should really be able to outnumber quite quickly, but because of obviously against Jeff's, you know, he's going to be quite hard to take down and gets away. So really here you can see it, single caps for both teams, and the Guardian on the other side of the map, Moobs, is doing a fantastic job actually versus Fantaram in that 1v1. He's keeping that going while the rest of Never Lucky eventually get the kill. So in the end, really, Never Lucky kind of won out over that early start and did a fantastic job, just because obviously, you know, they had the right people in the right places. They were able to roll over onto mine, get the cap quite quickly. But the thing is, Astral Authority responded. They moved back over towards the henge, and it looks like Oron is just going for a little tiny contest while potentially even thinking about getting that mid cap. Now Hypno does move back onto the cap, after moving off. So really they should have stayed there, thinking about trying to save his body there. Moves is just going to try and potentially distract as well while Hypno gets the cap, which is quite important. They're going to have the Druid coming up as well, but obviously getting Wakey and obviously 5 gauge onto the point as well. Now obviously Wakey can move onto the point quite quickly as a Guardian, and we've got 1 cap apiece for both teams. Now you can see there's a bit of fighting on roads. There's not really much of a cross going on at the moment, other than Jeff's just trying to take out Magic Toke on the right hand side of Keep, and then it's a full blown team fight. Now more than likely here, now I can't remember exactly what happened. I haven't watched this again since, because I can't do it live, but obviously that was what I was going to say. Auron is going to rely upon the team's survivability at midpoint to get the D cap. He won't likely go for the full cap there unless Never Lucky actually move off node. So this is something that their opponents, Never Lucky's opponents, are going to have to watch out for. Thing is, if Never Lucky hit, he's going for the full cap. Now this is debatable whether or not they should be going for this. Thing is that they pulled the Druid all the way back over towards the Henge, and the Thief Auron, even though he's not got that swiftness, can still get to mid a lot quicker at the moment. Cooldown's obviously gone, he'll get that back when he's got the full cap, and now they can +1 the fight. It can get potential members down. They get Magic Toker down, but obviously Chafe is an engineer and they have other members there ready to get the cap there as well. So running with that Elixir X, we obviously see the Tornado coming out. Doesn't do a lot in the end, other than, well, sorry, it does a lot because it cleaves and also knocks back, and we can also see that Wakey and Toker have been taken out, and that is what teams have got to watch out for when going up against Never Lucky. Now here, Never Lucky screw up a little bit, but they might be able to catch up with him because they let Chafe get away. And no one was on him, and they really plussed up too much on the mid. They stayed there for way too long, but luckily they can move over towards the mine to make sure that they can actually thwart his capture. Thing is there as well is that they have to move there anyway because red team are respawning, so they have to respawn to mine, and that's why Chafe probably went there as well towards that side, going for a bit of a cheeky decap at the same time. Now Magic Toker is obviously got his heal up in Revenant, gets healed back up quite not quite considerably, not completely there, but actually does a great job. Phantom taking the opportunity on the other side of the map to potentially take boss because they're aware of where most people are, assuming that the Druid is also over on the midpoint as well, and Hypno comes back in with moves to try and get some extra damage there onto members of Astral Authority. But here we go, 2 cap, and Phantom keeps them in it on the other side of the map as we've got 2 Druids both on the mid and on the Henge. And they're just sticking with it at the moment, waiting for this team fight again to kind of come out. And because of Volron's decapping, Phantom feels as if he has to stay back and watch that point, and they know the Druid's not present. So they're really relying upon this team fight situation, where it looks like, because of Noss's survival here due to Chafe and obviously other members, they're able to get significant damage off onto Jeff's, and Jeff's has been taken out. So that brings a lot of their survivability down. But here, surprisingly as well, Never Lucky are able to almost get a kill onto Magic Token. Now, getting into the down state, likelihood is they shouldn't get him back. You shouldn't get him down here because Chafe is still alive, and we've got Rampage coming out as well. But still, members are up, and with it, if Hypno goes down as well, this could snowball back into Astral Authority's favour quite easily, as they've got obviously the mine as well. And now Never Lucky members are splitting up and moving back over towards mid, which is very, very important. You can see as well as they pick up the Necro build, it's just a bit of few differences here and there. He can really pile on the conditions, of course, going over for curses, and obviously gets that plague signet as well. As you know, through his traits, and obviously recharging the corruption skills as well is going to help. Obviously, you know, his heal and the poison cloud. So it's looking good for. I mean, the build is, you know, really condition heavy, and obviously going for different utilities there as well. So it's still going for Condi transfer as well. You know, a bit more passively than anything else. But yeah, good build. Obviously, it seems to be working to a degree. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like the thing they're having the problem with is more the Thief, more Auron again. And I talked about in the last series, which I kind of reviewed, and he's really the big pain in the ass for any team, and currently as well, because he's gone over towards the other side of the map, they've taken advantage that he's gone for that full cap as well, and they've actually got a kill. But obviously Wakey going down elsewhere has meant that they will be able to, you know, equalise things up and keep the 2 cap, and they're really struggling versus this Auron, versus this Thief, this Daredevil, getting those decaps. Even if they lose the kills, they've still got the advantage. They've still got the 2 cap, and while Astral Authority are keeping capping mid, actually the Thief and Jeffs move back into mid. So at the moment, Never Lucky have a lot more map presence, and they don't want to stick into these bigger team fights. They want to go for these more skirmish fights that they seem to be getting, and maybe even just, you know, when they're starting to lose a fight, Auron can just even then go towards another point and get a decap, even if they get into a fight that they're not winning at all, and they're just going to distract while Auron does the work around the rest of the map. And so far, it's working. Will it continue to work? We'll have to wait and see. Because now the engineer is over towards mid. Now Jeff's is over on this mid fight versus the druid, which I don't think is a great idea unless Auron is actually going to go for a potential +1 here, and isn't by the looks of things. You can see Never Lucky's health bars bumping up and down, while Astral Authority is kind of staying safe at the moment. And Magitoka just moving off the point there as well to try and take out moves here. Not many, it probably doesn't have many cooldowns left as he gets some defense himself, and knows that he needs to move into this fight because Jeff's really, I mean, he's not going for mid, he's watching the back cap as well, but still, you know, he's well in the middle of the map. And maybe, you know, could have joined in that fight over on the mine, but it would have meant the druid going for obviously the decap over on the henge point. So maybe, you know, a little bit at that point in time, Never Lucky not optimizing, you know, their movement around the map specifically for Auron there at all, but trying to pick up potential damage onto the druid. Now Auron was actually quite damaging even to the druid in this series, and was doing a fantastic job of trying to keep cleave down on bodies while they're trying to res. Astral Authority were trying to res and whatnot as well, so still got the one cap here. You can see the amount of damage coming down onto Magitoka as well, and Auron hasn't really dropped that low at all. You can see how much damage it just does with that dodge. I mean, he doesn't really need to even hit, and the cleave that is available is amazing. He does get the res there, of course, in the end, and everything is well and good. The thing is, they've got the sustain here, so obviously they need to keep the damage down onto Magitoka, and Auron is actually doing a fantastic job. The person who's going to fall here is actually Hypno over towards the roads and keep. So I need to keep a watchful eye out for that. Obviously Nos has gone down, but he's got the scrapper, he's got the engineer over there to help him out. So they've got the sustain and the resin capability they need, you know, the res bot, I guess, pardon me, as the scrapper is and will be. So Hypno has gone down, of course. Moves potentially could be the next target over on the midpoint. They do see that Nos is low again, but the thing is, you know, they've still got the scrapper there. They've still got the sustain, and I really think here they might need to watch out for themselves, because obviously Hypno is just respawning into the map, and now Druid has to move back. That's Phantom. Just making sure I'm watching out for the counter. You can see Nos goes down again. Where's the counter? We need a counter for the flipping Necros at this moment. But again, you know, we have seen Never Lucky to a degree have been able to actually regroup. But look at that. Magitoka just picks up the opportunity to take out Auron here. And, you know, he didn't have that swiftness because, you know, otherwise he may have got away from that. But the thing is, if he picks that up, you take a lot away from the build and obviously the usefulness that he is in this map in the first place. So, you know, that's just one of the occasions that Auron obviously goes down. Thing is, you know, Nos goes down again. What's going to happen? Boom. Back up. So even when casting this, it's difficult to hype the fact that the Necro goes down, especially if the scrapper is there, because you're always nearly going to get the res, unless you keep him up in the fight. Now, obviously, you know, if you've not got a scrapper, then potentially the Ellie will be the one who's keeping up the Necro, so he's not even going down, so you're not even taking away some of that damage and potential to take out targets, and you remove one of those targets to potentially think about taking out in the first place. So let's have a look at the rest of the map. Obviously, again, we see over towards the other side of the map, we're getting a decap here, so, you know, that's a thing. Auron again proving to be a bit of a pain, but they need that cap. They need to come back into the game. They get Nos down again, boom, back up. I mean, that's got to be at least 7 times he's gone down and come back up as well in this game. You can see again, you know, they're getting into a massive team fight situation, and Auron is literally just going for decaps here. He's been out of the fight for quite a while, and thankfully for Never Lucky, they've been able to stay up. Now, the problem is oh no, they've actually come back together. Phantom does get back towards the point, and now Auron can move back into this team fight and they can outnumber. So this is what they're relying upon, you know, removing the druid and then going in for the fight. But the thing is, Never Lucky are a bit spread here. They're not actually focused into a fight at all. Actually, you know, Astral Authority are focusing them all the way back over towards the mine node and onto Never Lucky's point. And the thing is, we've seen a +1 here from obviously Jeff's as well on this side of the map, which I actually think is an error from Never Lucky. I think if they'd put the team fight over towards the other side of the map, they could have rolled off of that, got the mine, then got the mid as well, keeping, well, at least someone keeping maybe Vansaran busy. But, desperate times called for desperate measures, and Astral Authority even moved back over towards mid. So, I think Never Lucky at times weren't really going even with their own tactics at points in time, because Astral Authority were forcing them into different situations, and maybe we saw and this is not a slight on Jess, because this is a team decision about where they put those players, where they put that engineer. Do they +1 in one area? Does Olron and Jeff spend time trying to take out Phantom? They do start to potentially come back here, but Magic Toka going down, and with the boss coming out for Never Lucky, you think, oh, there's a potential here for them to come back. Now, this is what the important for where the scrapper goes in this situation, because does he go into the fight, or does he keep that point in their favour? Now, he's moving in to potentially help get another team fight underway, because they need to get these points decapped. They have to. And Olron dropping quite low is very bad for them at the moment, and it feels like the game's falling apart, and they start to space out a little bit. They didn't come together at that point in the game, which would have been very advantageous, and Magic Toka, of course, can get an easy decap and the game's over. That's all she wrote, really, there, to be honest. So towards the end of the game, Never Lucky, as I try and catch my breath, Never Lucky, unfortunately, it wasn't very advantageous for they didn't come together as they did earlier in the game, when they were taking advantage of those decaps. Over on the World Championship Series, I'll be getting to cast that, so it's going to be pretty exciting to cast the finals in America, especially because I've not casted the finals in America, other than the World Tournament Series quite a few times, so that's absolutely balls. But anyway, let's go back into the important things and talk about these guys and the players. So in that last series, of course, Never Lucky actually did a fantastic job, and these guys even felt that they kind of surprised them, and maybe Astral Authority and probably the people watching at home. So there was talk about Nos and his build, and the spectral wall and whatnot, and that being very useful for Wakey to actually survive, and actually other team members as well, using that for some control. And Nos has even got quite a lot of survivability himself, but not as much as, say, the normal build you would see as well coming out from the Necro. I've got so many notes, you don't even understand how much work I'm doing for this at the moment. It's crazy. I don't know if I've ever done this much prep, but this is part of it, because I can watch it back, you guys can watch it back, and hopefully it helps us all to understand things a little bit more in terms of what might come out of the World Championship Series, and even just talking about it potentially in a bit of a different way, and in my way, which is a very special way, I do understand. Well, obviously we're not seeing Nos going for even blood magic that we saw coming out in the EU, which does a ton more damage over soul reaping, of course, and soul reaping, of course, is another option, which is more the survivability end of the spectrum, I suppose, out of the three. But yes, it's looking good for both teams at the moment, actually. Never Lucky need to fall, obviously, not so much Never Lucky, but they're they put in quite a solid performance against Astral Authority. And this is for the number 1 seed in NA and number 2. Now, unfortunately for Never Lucky, number 2 seed means going against number 3, which is going to be TCG, which sucks for them, if we're blatantly honest. To be honest, it would have been awful to go up against any EU team, with the experience. It's not even just the quality, but the experience of going to LAN. So let's have a look at the map and how teams moved into the map here as well. You saw the blue team Guardian obviously moves going over towards the far point there even as well. Even, he's not got a lot of mobility, but obviously that early swiftness into the game is going to help him and his team move over to the point. Never Lucky 2v1ing here over on the mansion as well. We are going to see a Moa coming out, which is going to force Vanzaram off point, and you can see as well Astral Authority have ganged up over on the midpoint, and they've been able to get a kill. So important thing to note here, obviously, is the fact that, Krail wasn't able to survive in the 1v2, whereas Vanzaram was able to. So that's quite a key thing to pick up at the start, and obviously that's not saying Krail's a bad player compared to Vanzaram, but Vanzaram is Vanzaram. Let's just remember that here as well, and obviously the matchups that they do have on the map as well. So Windmill is going to be contested by Never Lucky. That means they have to obviously respawn into the map, and whether or not this is a good idea is also another thing, because the fact that one of their members is still moving into the map means they are potentially outnumbered elsewhere. Now, saying that, of course, we do see this stat down state of Wakey, because obviously we have got Astral Authority members back in the map as well, and they are currently trying to defend the nodes, as we see Chafe over towards the midpoint. And because Chafe is not there, and he's not in the fight, then obviously they seem to lose members, and getting Nos down is a great boon to them. But Astral Authority are actually getting back up there, so very, very strong res coming out from the boys. But the thing is, Magic Toker, because he had to go down for that, had to use significant amount of his utility, and obviously, you know, he actually got interrupted on this heal there, and Nos could possibly go down here once again, and does. They really need Chafe in this fight, but they're still able to power through and get the reses here up as well. So, you know, even without the Scrapper, they're actually doing a fantastic job just normally with their resin capacity, and that's fantastic for them. But will it last, as Phantom almost goes down? And in the end, you know, they've only got so many cooldowns and so much pressure comes down to this team. Here it feels like Astral Authority just, you know, unfortunately just didn't have the right matchup here. They needed Chafe in this fight. They needed someone else on the mid, potentially Phantom, to actually defend that mid cap and have the res capacity that the Scrapper does. You know, Druid still has healing. He still has, you know, the stuff there to give him his team survivability, Celestial Avatar form and whatnot. But, you know, you've got Jeffs over here, he's got Throw Elixir X, who can, you know, take that out within an instant anyway. So, you know, there's different counters going on this side of the map, and this fight for Astral Authority is not great. The thing is, the Never Lucky aren't getting the cap yet. That's the problem. They're on this side of the map, but they still can't. They can't take these kills down by the time, you know, the respawn's coming out. Wakey's coming back out now, and actually, you know, they're back up to full strength. Other than Magic Toker, who's really low, and he can just bail out at the point. And by now, you know, they've put the focus back onto actually Jeffs here, but they do get the downstate onto Magic Toker. Nice knockback as well from Hypno there, and they need to make sure they get Magic Toker down, but they don't in the end. And it feels like, you know, Never Lucky are almost getting tired of this because they've taken out so many people. And this fight has literally been going on for 3 or 4 minutes by now. Well, not 4, 3 minutes, sorry. After, you know, the loss of the mansion from Phantom, and obviously the mid cap from Astral Authority. And that's not a loss, you know, he was 1v2. But now as Never Lucky slowly but surely starts to be taken out here, you can see that without the Scrapper, Astral Authority have actually been able to win this fight. And I almost feel like Never Lucky were kind of, their morale had gone down because they just couldn't keep people down. And you can imagine the communication in TeamSpeak or Discord or whatever they're using. It's just like, you know, guys, we need to get these bodies down and, you know, finish this quite quickly. So now they move over towards midpoint. Olron's there as well, and they try and take Chafe out. The thing is, he gets away and heals up quite well. He's so tanky as well, you don't really want to go for so much focus. And while they're doing that, they come from behind and they actually almost take out Never Lucky as well. So they need to be careful and watch out for this focus that they have. It kind of reminds me of Rom, you know, when he's kiting about and teams are trying to attack and kill him. Normally they're being taken out from behind by their burst damage dealers of the opposite teams, of the same team that Rom are on. So that makes some sense, you know, similar situation there. Obviously see the mansion has been decapped again by, you know, Phantom pushing far. Never seen that before. It's something you should always be aware of, you know. Where's Phantom? Because you know where he's going to push. To a degree, you know, I'm not saying that always, it's more of a joke than anything. Anyway, let's have a look at the focus that's coming out. You can see actually the split focus, and Oron's actually just keeping the pressure onto Magic Toker, not letting him attack, while the rest of his team try and focus someone else down. And that situation happens quite frequently as well. And whether or not that's on purpose or not is obviously another thing, but it must be at this level. Actually, Magic Toker uses a nice star 5 there to split the team up. But you can see here again, you know, they're not able to solidify any kills and potentially thinking about even moving out themselves. And actually Rampage comes out from for Chafe there for 5 gauge, and they almost take out Oron. Oron needs to be very careful here, even regenerates himself. We're going to see him move back into the fight because Moob's obviously going down there as well. The cleave that can come out for Oron to help them get the res, because, you know, Astral Authority are going to have to move out from the fight, is very, very important. Now, Nos has to look after the fight over on mid. He's going to cut up against the Ranger at the moment, the Druid. Unfortunately for Never Lucky, they're not able to get these kills out. So they've spread over towards the windmill twice. It's not worked, and they've lost the cap over towards the other side of the map. And actually, we are going to... Hypno has to completely disengage this. Goes back in now with Jeffs, who can give him some healing, and also that supports and momentum to move back onto Fanta. But obviously, he can push out. Now, he's 1v3. Nice pull comes from moves to potentially take him out. And if they can kill him here, they could even move to mid, but you know, he's played fantastically well here, and he's used all his utility to get out, and has nothing left by the looks of things other than that wall. Projectiles will heal him, of course, if anyone comes through. So he's going to be okay for now. And Astral Authority have kept the map. You know, they've solidly kept the mid cap and the windmill in these team fight situations, but Auron's not been going. Auron's been more involved in the team fights more so in this map than anywhere else, and it's only been when Astral Authority have got kills that they've moved, you know, Phantaram over towards the far point of Mansion. And because it's more sustained team fighting, it doesn't feel like Never Lucky are going to be able to win, because they're not, you know, Auron's not moving into that situation where they know he can get decap, because he can't decap anything because people are guarding the points. They're just standing on 2 nodes, and when they get a kill, Astral Authority moving on to the 3rd cap to get a decap. So it's almost as simple as that. It's not that difficult to look at the map. Look, we see it again, you know, but that didn't come out with the kill. That came out of Never Lucky's almost desperation to try and get something. They do get the kill onto Noscock here in the end, which is good for them. So, you know, and actually, Chafe was here. So, you know, in the end, unfortunately not able to get that. But is it too little too late? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, you know, you can never say never, but this is one of those maps where you cannot get a significant, you know, lead back so easily just because of, you know, the mechanics of the map. There's no buffs, there's no boons coming out for your team from, you know, getting a lord down on the boss or whatever. So we actually see moves here as well, pulling a fantastic job, just trying to go that 1v1 mile. We saw that Sanctuary coming out as well through the traits, I do believe. But yeah, back onto the focus, and now Wakey as well. Nice. Chafe really saved there. 5Gauge really saved Wakey's ass there, as well as other members just coming to the point and offering up some utility and defense there. But good job again, you know. Auron getting considerably low. The game still getting away from them. They're pushed onto that 3rd point again. You know, Phantaram is on the other side of the map. They can't really get a kill, and actually Hypno goes down here as well. Now he does get back up, of course. We have got the Scrapper in this fight, as far as I can see. Auron is coming back into the map as well, so we will see, you know, they'll be able to gang up, and we do see Noscock going into downstate. Now, there's not as much movement from NA at all in this qualifier, and I think EU teams could take a lot from this, and I think NA teams can take a lot from, you know, obviously how the EU teams are playing. But Astral Authority are pretty solid on the 2 cap, especially, you know, before kind of the 8-minute marker. And as Phantaram's being kind of kept over on the other side of the map, there's a lot of damage taken out from Never Lucky, but they've still got the sustain to stay in the fights. Problem is that Auron's actually been taken out quite a few more times than normal, but they have managed in the end, without Phantaram being present, being able to get that cap over on the windmill. But 2 cap, and there's only 51 points left. It's probably a bit late in the day for Never Lucky to come back, unfortunately for them. Nos does move into the mid cap though. Probably won't get it. Jeffs is going to come on point. You see the Spectral Wall Arrow, of course, and that's going to be a nice rocket charge, obviously, from Jeffs to get on the point. But yeah, the game, it kind of stops here for a moment because, you know, Astral Authority haven't got a cap, and Wakey obviously in the downstate, and it does mean that, you know, Never Lucky can pick up that cap over towards the windmill. So a bit of comeback potential hype, but they've got to play it absolutely perfectly here. Keep getting the kills as well to make sure that these guys aren't going to be able to come back. And obviously, you know, keep them, you know, 4v5 so they can outnumber around the map, or can get decaps and whatnot as well. But Noscock, obviously, you know, Scrapper and others do get the res in the end onto him. So, it's not looking like the complete end for Never Lucky, but it's not looking great, is it? 51 points left. Still, Astral Authority this time of the game. Yeah, on Kylo, we've seen them sometimes, you know, stalling in points, coming back at the last minute. You know, you can remember the end towards on Season 2, even the start of Season 2, where they almost fell here. I can't remember if it was to Never Lucky. Maybe it was, actually. But obviously, we see here as well, in this team fight, in the big team fight as well, that these guys, well, 3v3, these guys have actually been taken down. We've got now the 2v2 happening on the upper side of the map as well. And Never Lucky members are starting to fall. Now, this is me obviously just saying what's going on the screen. This is not, you know, absolute blatant. This is absolute blatant stuff. And you can see what's going on the map at the moment is that they're able to dominate elsewhere and just pick up the kills and snowball towards the win, which is inevitably what is going to happen. You know, 4 deaths in a map where, you know, they've got 1 cap as well and they're beginning to get the caps as well. There's no way that Never Lucky can come back. They do get a cheeky kill themselves, but obviously, you know, we see that Hypno is on his own and Astral Authority can collapse on that. Now, you know, I think Never Lucky kept in flavour with an idea that was just, you know, it was something that wasn't working. And Astral Authority were, you know, taking advantage of the fact that they could win those team fights in that situation on the windmill. And to a degree, you know, Astral Authority kind of thwarted the Thief's attempt to get the decaps because, you know, they always kept someone on that other cap. And, you know, they didn't take advantage of maybe plussing 1 or even just keeping, you know, 5 members on the windmill. Now that's obviously very risky because someone has to watch their back point, but you know, at the end of the day, that's almost the risk you have to take, and unfortunately they won't be able to take advantage of that in the end. Now that's not taking anything away from them. Astral Authority did a great job in the end, and you know, that's the way it is. Apologies if that video was a little bit rushed maybe, but I'm literally almost about to kind of not head out the door, but this really early in the morning, and I'm doing this before I kind of going, so I've got, you know, flight on my head, I've got, you know, all this stuff around me where I'm like literally gonna go out the door any minute, so I'm rendering this and just chucking it on the web, and I hope it's helped you. And if you haven't seen it, then you know it's something great for you potentially to watch as well, even just with me speaking over the top. Some blatant obviousness in that series. There wasn't a lot else to really think about, you know. Scrapper getting the reses, Nos helping Wakey to peel away, you know, using obviously, you know, Spectral Wall as well for others, and obviously, you know, blocking routes for other members of their enemies to, you know, not get onto points. You know, we saw the survivability of also Phantom, who was pushing far a lot here and there. Auron, obviously, on Never Lucky, trying to get those decaps as a thief, you know, the normal role as a thief, getting around the maps, getting the decaps, trying to +1. Wasn't doing that as much. But, you know, we also saw, you know, the Sanctuary even coming out as part of the traits from, you know, moves as well. So, you know, a lot of different stuff comes out of NA. I'm not going to lie. But is this stuff going to be in the finals, guys? You can watch on September the 17th. I likely won't be standing in front of a screen, but I will see you in the very near future. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. And don't forget to watch the cast. 6 teams who will win the Guild Wars 2 World Championship for $200,000. See you soon.